Hello everybody. I want to share with you a discovery that I don't hear many phoneticists talk about in this industry. It looks like we're used to dividing English based on pronunciation into different categories, which are clearly distinct. And that is something that we all know very well. We're talking about British English, American English, Australian English, Canadian English, Slavic English, Russian English, Greek English, Italian English, and so on and so forth. What we're mainly concerned about when we divide these Englishes into different forms, into different subcategories of English, is basically pronunciation and certain features that create the pronunciation of every category. In my experience, I don't know how it happened historically, so I won't go into the minor details, but in my experience, that is something that I'm understanding based on this division and categorization. But one thing that I noticed and that I want to share with you today is that even within the very same pronunciation group, let's go for British English, for instance. If we zoom in and we look at an individual person's pronunciation, we will hear that within their pronunciation, they will pronounce the very same sound in a variety of ways, depending on where that sound is located within a word. So what I'm talking about is obviously found in the phonemic chart. What most learners try to do is they learn most of the phonemes individually, and then they grab these phonemes and they try to stick them into a word. And what they try to do is to stick one phoneme that they might have mastered into every word in its unchanged or an altered form. But if we hear very closely and attentively what people say, if we really hear into their pronunciation, we might notice that the pronunciation of every individual sound changes slightly depending on its neighbours. Take, for example, a very common distinction between the pronunciation of the sound O in words such as cold and so. If we're talking about cold, the pronunciation of O will be nearing O. And if we're talking so, the pronunciation of O will be more like O. So it will be a little softer when compared with cold. How about that schwa sound in the pair of words teacher and model? Compare teacher, model, It's a very subtle distinction, and that's something that I want to encourage you to train about your capacity to hear the distinctions within the very same sound. Another common distinction would have to be girl and turn. The very same sound manifests differently depending on whether it's a girl or turn. I want to welcome you to train yourself to hear these very subtle and nuanced distinctions. You can bring your mirror neurons on board. You can surround yourself with English, preferably someone whose English you really like and would like to mimic, and listen to that person all the time. Another lovely thing to do would have to be to train your ability to hear distinctions, hear slight distinctions, make those tiny, tiny distinctions in the sounds that you hear. And the final tip is going to have to do with your body and allowing your body to suggest to you what sound, what variation rather of each sound it would want to produce when you're speaking English. Here is something that I have learned about my own pronunciation. It's really interesting because you can track my journey with my pronunciation over the years on YouTube. I posted my first video in 2013, I reckon. So if you go back to that video, one of the most frequent comments appearing under that video, and you can do so if you like, would be that my pronunciation would sound very forced. And that is actually a valid criticism. I agree with it. I think my pronunciation did sound quite forced in the earlier videos. But as I have grown in my own pronunciation journey, I've noticed that as I was basing my English pronunciation more on my diaphragmatic support, and as I was relaxing a little bit more in my body, and as I was allowing my voice to flow freely through my throat and out, filling the space I was in, I noticed that I started gaining this relaxed sensation to the voice of mine. So that was an interesting thing to observe. I think as you learn more, as you work on your pronunciation, and as you take courage to practice your pronunciation on purpose, you will reach this point where it will shift from being super emphasized and a little forced as a crucial stage on your journey towards being more natural and relaxed. For me, the sky's the limit. I'm experiencing shifts and transitions and changes in my own pronunciation, and as someone who is very much obsessed with the English language, I can feel how happy and excited I am when I listen back to myself on a recording and notice that my voice has become more relaxed. I think this variability that is suggested by the capacity of our body to adjust itself to the sounds that we make is indicative of a nuanced speaker, of someone who is working on their pronunciation constantly. And that is something that I want to invite you to do, invite you to consider. If you're someone like me who is very much interested in learning to speak with a British accent. I'm wishing you the very best of luck in your pronunciation endeavours, and I'll be happy to invite you back to this channel for more inspiring content. Share this video with a friend if you like, and I will see you again very soon. My name is Lilia, I'm running the channel Intelligent, and I hope to see you again in due course. Bye bye.